I'm Sandra McHenry. I live in Clifton Forge in Alleghany County, Virginia. When I turned 18, I really couldn't wait to vote. We had had mock elections in high school and middle school, and I always enjoyed participating in those. So when I turned 18, I registered to vote. I voted. That was 1984. And I don't think I've missed an election since then. If I did, it may be one or two here or there. Some people ask, well, why vote? What does a single vote do? A single vote doesn't count, or it doesn't seem like my vote ever counts any because my candidates don't win. Well, our founding members of our country decided that we should be self-governing. And that word self is important. That's me. And while one vote may not mean too much, when you put those votes together collectively, they are a power. And if they're all a power, then one single vote is power. State and local elections, those are elections that are some of the most important. While presidential elections, federal elections, a lot of people turn out for those, but those state, local elections where you're electing state representatives, town council, city council, board of supervisors, those elections and those leaders really determine day-to-day life-changing things that are the ones that affect my life. With those candidates, and with all candidates, I really try to be very informed about them and not just go into a voting booth and choose a name, but rather know what is their vision. What's their vision for whether it's the country, the state, or our town? What do they stand for? What do they represent? How are they going to vote on certain decisions? And I try to stay informed. We call elections a race. We have a presidential race. We have a town council race. But they're really not a race. In a race, like a 100-yard dash, the runners take off and the fastest one wins, meaning that the best candidate wins. Unfortunately, that's not always true for an election. Sometimes it's the candidate who has the best name recognition, or it's the candidate that is the most charismatic that wins. So it's not really a race. But being informed and knowing the candidates will help the best candidate win that election. When I go into a voting booth, I know I'm voting my preference. I rarely don't vote in a particular race because that would just be giving away that power. I know that when I go in and I see a list of names that I'm voting my preference. I'm looking at the one person who I believe best represents me. And it doesn't mean that I would agree with everything that they say, but they're the one that best represents me and my views, how I want my tax dollars to be spent, how I want my town to be run, how I want the future to look for my children. So I vote my preference. Voting is a power. I want to use that power, and I don't want to give up that power.